Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Dad Project. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and joining us for another week. So, before I get into it, please make sure that you have subscribed on all the podcast channels. Obviously, the audio version of this goes up first, so if you want to listen to this as soon as it drops, make sure you have subscribed on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you are listening to this on currently. You'll also be able to find the video versions of this up on our YouTube and Facebook pages, so you can jump on and give us a like or subscribe on YouTube over there. Now, this week, you'll take it from the title of the show. Two things. I'm going to go through two topics. Number one, I'm going to talk about context, and in context especially why it's so important when you're taking any advice, but more specifically why it's so important when you're talking about training advice. Obviously, if you're listening to this for the first time, which some of you may be, my background is I've coached people for the last decade and a half, and I've owned and ran a gym for 10 years, and my specialty is obviously trying to help get people the strongest and fittest versions of themselves. Now, the other thing, the second point is I'm actually going to give away one of my 8-week programs. Now, there's not going to be any catches to this, right? I'm going to publish it on our Instagram and Facebook pages so you can access it anywhere. I am going to be putting a little bit more information into our Facebook groups, which are accessible to everybody out there. You can add yourself in. There is a link to the groups in the show notes. There is the Unstoppable Dads Facebook group that you can add yourself to if you're a dad and you want to do the program. I know we've got a few ladies that listen to this as well. There's also going to be the Fusion Sports and Performance Facebook group, which is our other training company. So I'll be publishing it in both of those groups and on the Unstoppable Dad Project Facebook page, and also on my personal Instagram page as well. So I'm just going to put it out there each week for the next 8 weeks, starting from next Monday. So the time this podcast goes up is going to be Saturday the 11th. So the first week will be Monday the 20th of June, 2022. Now, you will have access. This 8-week program will stay up. It will stay up in the Facebook groups where you will be able to find it. So don't stress if you're going to be starting later. Let's say you're listening to this a month or even a year in the future. Hope the future's grand. You can go into the Facebook groups and you can find that program and you can do it at any point. Now, before I get into the mechanics of the program, I do want to talk about context, because there's two things that have gone into me looking to give this program away and put it out there. The first thing is, over the last few weeks, since I went on hiatus for about 6 weeks and come back to doing the podcast, I've had a few messages. I've been challenged a little bit by some people, which is fairly standard on the internet. You know, the internet's always undefeated, but these people have kind of been asking, why don't you just, if you're trying to help people, why don't you give your stuff away for free? And the fact is, I have hundreds, even thousands of hours of free content up there, whether it be through this Facebook page, whether it be through our social media posts, or if you jump on the Fusion Sports and Performance, not Instagram, YouTube page, you will find hundreds of hours of exercise demos, videos answered, programming questions that I've been doing over the last 7 years. So if you want to check that out, I will actually link that in the show notes as well. So you can jump on there and you can have a look. But there is so much free information out there. And one of the biggest things between you taking on free information and you actually getting a result from it is you taking action. Now, I spoke about last week through the podcast that I was talking about, the investment that people make and where the shift in the level of accountability and who you're accountable to. So trying to work on being accountable to yourself rather than being accountable to somebody externally. And I do believe, and this obviously sounds very coachy and it sounds like somebody who sells programs, but the longer I've done this for, and granted, I haven't just started this in the last year or two, right? Like, I've been coaching people for over a decade. And I know when people actually invest in them, and that investment can be relative to a lot of people, right? Like, not everybody can afford $100 a week. Not everybody can even, and some people struggle to afford, say, $30 a week just due to their particular set of circumstances. I get that and I understand that. And yes, it is about priorities. And if it's important to you, you will prioritize it and so on and so forth. But when people make an investment that is at a point where it registers on their scale of shit, I need to do something about this, they'll actually take action on it and they'll follow through on it, because you can find anything on the internet you want for free, whether it be through my channels or anyone else's channels. The differentiating factor between whether you actually get a result from it or not is the action and the follow through that you are going to take of the advice that you've given. And when I've given stuff out for free in the past, we've done free week trials, we've done free months, we've done free 28 days, we've done, free programs, so on and so forth. Nobody gets anything out of it because nobody really follows through with it, because there's no investment with it, right? So that's one of the reasons why I don't give a lot of stuff away for free. Now, given that I have just made this shift, and yes, this program, whether it be the podcast or the other information I put out, is all about trying to help people. I'm going to put an 8-week program out there. But one of the biggest things within our program and within the way I coach, which is so important, is me understanding context. And in my opinion, context is the number one most important thing when you're taking on any form of advice. Because you will see the internet littered with best exercise for this, best thing to do for this situation, best thing, ... There are 1,000 millions of videos out there telling you which is the best things to do. But the one thing they are missing is context for you and you individually. And within my programs, especially my online programs, what I try and do with people is work to provide them with a solution within the context that they are operating in, especially when we're talking about dads, we're talking about parents, and we're talking about busy people who have other shit to do. Because the more stuff that you have within your life that you have to factor in to any decision you make, the more context is needed when you're taking on advice. So taking on generic advice or generic programs may not necessarily the best path for you. Now, it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole, right? Now, you may just hit it lucky and you may just find something that just fits for you. And if that's the case, that is amazing. That is awesome. And maybe this program that I'm going to deliver for free is that. It's just something that just fits, it clicks, it works. But maybe it's not. And sometimes when you're trying to fit that square peg in a round hole, and the more factors you have to contend with, and you're taking advice from somebody who doesn't understand the context of which you are trying to apply the advice, it can start to create not only more friction, but more problems. And when we have friction around a new habit or change that we are trying to make, or more problems are created, what it does is it's this snowball effect where the thing that we are trying to change starts to become unachievable. And what we want to do with anything when we're trying to change an action, habit, or behavior within our life that we want to change is we want to try and remove that friction and not add to it. Now, there is going to be some level of resistance when you are doing something new. That is just natural. That is part of it. And we have to work through that. But the idea is, especially when we have a lot of other stresses in our life that we are dealing with, we don't want to make that to a point where it's going to be crushing, it's going to be defeating, and we're not able to take those small incremental actions to make that change and especially implement that change over a long period of time. So it is so important to have context when you are taking any advice. And this is also one of the other reasons why I just don't throw out generic free programs, because our program in itself and my coaching in itself, especially online and remote with people who I'm not working with in person, is all about context. It's about me understanding the context that you're operating in, using the last 15 years of experience of working with such a diverse group of people, and then helping you craft a plan to get you to where you want to go. Okay, so this is why I haven't given away free programs in the past. So the idea of having somebody as a coach or using our program is to try and reduce that friction so that it's easier for you to take actions, because the people that I'm working with, you've got other shit to worry about. You don't want to be worrying about let's take training, for example. If I'm walking into the gym, I don't want to be thinking about, I don't have access to this piece of equipment, so how do I modify this movement? Like, yes, you can send me a message if you're a client, and I will get back to you, but I may not get back to you in exactly the next 2 minutes. There's going to be a process to go through. So the idea is, before you go in there, for me to understand what you have access to, how much time you've got, so you can just walk in there and you can action it without having too much of a thought about the actions and the process that you need to go through to change things. So when understanding context and when taking on advice from anybody, whether it's me or anybody else in there, understand that they may not understand your particular set of circumstances. Now, if you are in a position where maybe you're not able to make an investment, a financial investment into a program, then the trade-off is going to be trial and error. You're going to have to try some of these things and see if they fit. And when I say try things, I don't just mean try them once. In order to really see if something fits, you need to give it a red hot go, right? And this is why I'm doing this as an 8-week program, not as a 30-day program, not as a 14-day program, because it's about actually following through on it and implementing that habit over a good 8 weeks. So you need to give it a red hot go when you're trying something, and you may get to the end of, say, a 6-week or 8-week period and go, you know what, this just really doesn't fit, but I've got some really valuable information that I can adapt to my set of circumstances and go from there. So if you don't have the means to potentially invest in a coach to help you find out a plan, or invest in somebody who's walked that path that you want to go down, then the trade-off is going to be your time and trial and error to gain the knowledge yourself in order to give you an actionable plan within your lifestyle and within your set of circumstances. Now, the 8-week program, even though I've just gone on that last 10-minute rant about why context is so important, now I'm about to give away a program to people where it's not really about context, right? So anyone who has watched this particular podcast before will know I've got my little notebook where I've written down a heap of stuff just to make sure I don't forget anything while I'm on the podcast. But the program will be given away for free. It's for 8 weeks. My only ask is that if you are going to do it, please follow through with it and do it for the whole 8 weeks. Now, the way that I will deliver it, each week on a Sunday night, I will put up a post onto the Unstoppable Dad Project Facebook page, which will have the workouts in there for the week. There's going to be 3 workouts a week. They're going to be strength-based. The whole idea of it is it's going to be designed for somebody who can probably fit those 3 workouts in. They'll be 45 minutes to an hour each. There will be some optional work that you can do there and you can do with your family. So there'll be a 4th day, which will be an optional day. So it's supposed to be a little bit adaptable. Now, for the 3 days, the expectation would be that you've probably got access to a gym, right? You've got access to a regular commercial gym. From there, once I put that up, you can ask questions on the Facebook page, or I'm going to be putting additional information into the Facebook groups. So into the Unstoppable Dad Project Facebook groups, where I'm going to be encouraging people to pop up video. If you want some video critiquing on any of the movements that we're doing, you can film them, you can put it up in that group. And this is kind of how I run our programming for people. It's a little bit more refined because we're not just blasting it out there to a whole bunch of people. But you can put your videos up in there, or in the Fusion Sports and Performance Facebook page as well too. and that way you can get some video feedback and you can hopefully get some coaching from me. I'm going to be doing some coaching calls over the course of that as well. Probably every 2 weeks, I'll jump in the groups and do some coaching calls where it will be a group coaching call, so you guys can jump on there and ask some questions as well. But they'll be every 2 weeks, and all the information for that will be published over the course of the next week before we start releasing the workouts. So you'll be able to jump on there, ask some questions. You will also have the ability to book in for one-on-one calls with me as well. Now, the whole idea of this, to be completely open and transparent, is to put it out there, and anyone who follows through with it will hopefully want to jump on a program with us at the end of it or at some point throughout it. Maybe it's a bit hard to adjust it and you want to look at something a little bit more personalized, because this is, as I said earlier in the podcast, the big thing and the big differentiator about what I do within my programs is really personalize and really individualize the programs for the person to try and make sure that there is the friction and the problems are reduced all the way through the program. So if you've got a bunch of injuries that you're dealing with that you need to rehab, a generic program is probably not going to be the best course of action for you. Again, you might get really lucky and this may just click and hit the nail on the head. The other side of things is too, I'm going to try and make it simple enough that most people can follow through with it within their own ability. But if you struggle to get going and you think this is a good opportunity for you to really follow through and do a program and take access of this offer that I'm putting on there, the one thing I would encourage you to do is not be silent and engage. So jump in the Facebook groups, ask questions. I am trying to give away as much free information over the next 8 weeks as I can. And hopefully from there, you can see some great results and you can start to build that physical athleticism and that physical capacity that maybe you've struggled to build in the past. But in order to do this, you do need to commit for the 8-week process. You can't just do a week of the training and go, oh, this is shit, and then not continue to do it. Like, commit for the whole 8 weeks. As I said, usually our programs are individualized. Earlier on in the podcast, I've gone through the reasons why I usually won't give away a free program, but I feel like with the transition that I've just made, this is a really good opportunity for me to get some information out there and hopefully help some people who potentially don't have the financial means and the financial access to do it. But you have to commit to it. You have to do it. And the biggest thing is, and I'm going to finish off on this because I've really just gone off on a tangent, but hopefully I've got my point across for the last 18 minutes. But as one thing I've encountered over the last 15 years as men, and especially men in our, in your 30s and 40s, even 20s, we don't like to ask for help, right? Like, we're proud. We think that we've got to get through it. And I'm the same. But one thing that has made my life a whole lot easier over the last, let's say 15 years, is when I feel that and when I get that's like, oh, I just need to work this out myself, asking questions from people who are trying to help me or who are invested in my success has been the number one thing that has taken away friction and made my life easier. And it's a constant process where I still have to fight that. You have to fight that urge to not ask a question. But the more questions I ask, the easier things seem to get. So if you're going to do this program, this free program, and there's something that you struggle with, reach out. Pop a post in the Facebook group. Pop a post on the posts that we're putting onto all the Facebook pages. But jump in there, engage. Don't hide, and be seen, be visible, and engage with what is going on, because that is going to be your investment. A lot of coaches will talk about financial investment, right? The investment for this will be you engaging in the program. So that's hopefully exciting. Hopefully we've got a few people that want to jump on board with the use of that. But it's a strength program, 3 days a week. If you're doing other training outside of that, like you've got some sport or something and you want to do that as well, it's probably going to fit in pretty well with that because you've probably got a decent level. If you're starting, it's going to be basic enough that you will be able, that the movements will be easy to find and easy to do. And hope that 3 days a week for most people is semi-achievable, especially that 45 minutes to an hour mark. Again, we do offer programs that are going to be tailored and individualized. That is not this program. That is what we do within our paid program. And if you want access to that, you can book in a call. There is a link to book in a call in the show notes so we can have a bit more of a talk about it, see if what I offer is going to be a good fit for what you're after. But you can also jump into any of the Facebook pages. So the Unstoppable Dad Facebook page, Facebook group, I should say, the Fusion Sports and Performance Facebook group, and you'll be able to find the links and a whole bunch of information in there. So there's going to be a bunch of extra information in the show notes this week. There's going to be the link to the Unstoppable Dad Project Facebook page, the Fusion Sports and Performance Facebook group, and there's also going to be a link to the Fusion Sports and Performance YouTube page, because I have hours and hours and hours of exercise questions and things like that on there that maybe you will find a good amount of value from. So hopefully that helps. I'm excited for the next 8 weeks. Just a reminder, that won't start if you're listening to this when it's released. So it's released on the 11th of June 2022. The first workout will be released on Sunday the 26th. Okay, so that is not, Sunday the 19th, I should say. That is not this Sunday, so not tomorrow, but the Sunday after. And if you're listening to this in the future, you'll be able to jump into the Facebook groups or on the Facebook pages and be able to go back and find those workouts. All right. Thanks, team. Any questions? You can always reach out to me. If you're struggling with anything, reach out, have a chat, send me a message. I appreciate you all listening. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye.